Dana, I have an idea for you to make a lot of money. You're going to go and start a new migrant fight league. Migrants, only migrants. And then at the end of the year, the champion migrant is going to fight your champion. And I hate to tell you, Dana, I think the migrant might win.
There's no two ways about it. Donald Trump is trying to be Calvin Candle in Django Unchained when he has two black men fight to the death.
Democrats say, please don't call them animals. They're humans. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals.
This dehumanizing language from Trump is par for the course.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done.
At one point, he would say of undocumented immigrants, and I quote, "We don't want them coming into our country with contagious diseases." And they have it. All of a sudden, you see these contagious diseases spreading, and everyone is saying, I wonder where they came from. I could tell you where they came from. And that's just a snippet of this man's racism.
I said, Dana, I have an idea. Why don't you set up a migrant league of fighters and have your regular league of fighters? And then you have the champion of your league. These are the greatest fighters in the world. Fight the champion of the migrants. I think the migrant guy might win. That's how tough they are. He didn't like that idea too much, but actually it's not the worst idea I've ever had.
Just to add it to the list.
With Donald Trump speaking to reporters about an admittedly serious topic, Hurricane Dorian, holding up a poster of the Dorian forecast. So far, so good. Then people noticed, because it is a public press event, something weird that you see on the map. It appeared someone drew on an extra part, very clumsily there, to make it appear as if Alabama might also be in the storm's path.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute. 1 minute.
I mean, think about Trump's infamous Russia, if you're listening moment during the summer of 2016, when he just called on a foreign adversary to illegally hack Hillary Clinton's emails.
But I think we want to work with you to really recognize the changing climate and what it means to our forests and actually work together with that science. That science is going to be key, because if we ignore that science and sort of put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
Okay. It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Hey, well, I don't think science knows, actually.
Back in September 2019, it was the White House itself that released the notes from the so-called perfect phone call with the Ukrainian president, where Trump pressured him to dig up dirt on the Bidens, leading to the former president's first impeachment.
New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman writes in her forthcoming book that Trump's White House toilet would be clogged with documents that Donald Trump was flushing down the toilet.
It's like when he pressured Mike Pence to help commit a coup on Twitter. And when that was doomed to fail, he riled up an angry mob and sent them to storm the Capitol. Like when Trump instructed his personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, to pitch the Department of Homeland Security on the federal government seizing the voting machines as part of an attempt to steal the election.
So look, there are a lot of ideas that Trump has had that have simply failed us. His fight league idea, though, is not a dog whistle, but a bullhorn to his largely Caucasian base. Salon's Chauncey DeVega would write, during a speech to the right-wing Christian Faith and Freedom Coalition's Road to Majority conference, Trump made the same suggestion. Watching human beings brutalize each other inside of a cage is, of course, a very Christian thing to do. He writes that it is the epitome of dehumanizing your fellow man from Donald Trump, a tradition he carries, and is embedded in a pattern of racism, white supremacy, and nativism against black and brown people. DeVega would add, channeling the Big H, Donald Trump has repeatedly described non-white migrants and refugees as vermin and poison in the blood of the nation. A migrant fight club is the logical next step in such beliefs. Of course, his followers brushed it off with this typical line. Kevin McPherson told Politico he likes to tell jokes. This is expressing how some of these illegal immigrants coming into this country are hardened criminals, and he's trying to show that yes, there are criminals here. Bobby Newman, a member of MAGA, said she did not hear it at the rally, but that she would support the Migrant Fight League if her savior Donald Trump believed in it. The bigotry from Trump and his base is standard, though. A 2019 USA Today analysis of more than 6 of the former president's rallies found he He had used words like invasion and killer to discuss immigrants at rallies 500 times. Trump's rhetoric, though, on the Migrant Fight League is rooted in racism. And this is where we turn to, in my view, one of America's best sports writers, Kevin B. Blackistone. This form of fighting Trump mentioned were born during slavery, he writes. They remained through Reconstruction. They flourished during the deconstruction of Reconstruction as a means of reestablishing at least the psychological strata of skin color in this country. Blackistone shouts out Purdue historian Randy W. Roberts, who wrote a book on boxer Jack Johnson. Their sole function was to reinforce racial stereotypes like the black people in minstrels shows. Black people in battle royales conformed to white expectations. Blindfolded or tied together, black people were made to look more comical and less dangerous. It was difficult to take seriously one whose masculinity and dignity were so totally compromised, emasculated before each other and the white audience. The black youths were given painful lessons about the nature of caste. From Blackistone once more, we are almost a quarter of the way into this century, but there are those among us who would like to turn back the clock. Trump's migrant fights idea is a regurgitation that represents just that. It is no laughing matter. Peter McLaren, a social critic, would weigh in as well. Trump supporters might be titillated by the gladiatorial atmosphere of the Roman arena when gladiators were forced to fight each other to the death, and find it supremely amusing to imagine migrants, already labeled as rapists, murderers, and vermin, as inmates escaped from insane asylums south of U.S.-Mexico border who are poisoning the blood of the country, beat each other into oblivion. But they need to understand that this says more about them than the migrants whom they relish in their derision. Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do become a channel member by going to youtube.com/TYTsports and clicking the join button. If that's too much for you, you can just go to tyt.com/join to become a member. It helps all of us out here at the Young Turks and keeps our network afloat. In addition, you could follow me on my socials on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Appreciate the love. Have a great day.